This was from Arthur, a boy whose family had recently moved north from London. Arthur, pronounced by the boy himself as Arthur, was something of a novelty to the Sheffield schoolchildren, and his new classmates revelled in learning the Cockney rhyming slang he used. No doubt to show off in front of the newcomer, Daniel yanked her plait again, harder this time so that it pulled her head backwards. Mattie felt tears smart her eyes, but she wouldn't let them see her cry. Never in a million years. She would have run, but he was still holding her hair. Something snapped inside the 10-year-old girl. She swung her right arm round in a wide arc. Her fist connected with his nose, and she heard a satisfying crunch. There was a brief moment of stillness as they stared at each other before Daniel yelped, let go of her hair and put his hand to his face. Mattie turned and ran. She reached the street where she lived and ran pell-mell down the road, almost to the very bottom, skidding to turn sharply left and into the alleyway, the ginnel, between her home and the next terraced house. She pushed open the wooden door into the yard, crashing it back so that it shuddered on its hinges. Taking refuge in the privy at the end of the yard, she pushed the bolt into place and sent up a silent prayer of gratitude that it had been unoccupied. She leaned against the closed door, breathing in the fetid air, but at least she was safe. For the moment. It seemed an age until she heard raised voices coming nearer and nearer, and then the yard door crashed open again, and the shrill voice of Daniel's mother, Bella Spencer, was now far too close for Mattie's comfort. The girl peeped through the gap in the wooden panels and saw the large woman pounding on the back door of the house.
"Elsie Price!" she shouted. "Come and see what your little bitch of a daughter has done to my Daniel."
She paused for a moment, and, when no one appeared, she bellowed,
"Get out here now, else I'm coming in."
The door opened slowly, and Mattie could just see her mother standing there, a cigarette dangling from her lips, her eyes screwed up against the smoke. "What's all the noise about?" Elsie's voice was slurred, and she leaned against the door jamb for support. Mattie closed her eyes briefly and groaned inwardly. Her mother was drunk again in the middle of the afternoon. Mattie opened her eyes and peered through the gap once more.
"Go on, Mum. It's not Mattie's fault. I pulled her hair." "There's no reason to break your bloody nose."
In the darkness of the privy, Mattie blinked. Daniel Spencer sticking up for her, saying she wasn't to blame. Wonders would never cease.
"Sides,"
Daniel went on, and this, Mattie thought wryly, was probably nearer the reason why he was trying to prevent his mother having a full-blown row with her mum.
"There'd Joel batter me into the middle of next week when he finds out."
Mattie pressed her hand to her mouth to stop the giggle. There wasn't much fun or laughter in the girl's life, but the thought of her older brother, Joe, always brought a smile to her lips. He was her champion, her protector, even from their own father now and again. At 13, he was already stronger than their puny father, and he dared to stand up to Sid Price's fists. In a year's time, Joe would be leaving school, but already he took any part-time job he could find, outside school hours, usually amongst the market traders, to bring a few extra shillings to the starved household of 2 adults and 5 children. But he was sharp enough not to hand the money to either of his parents for it to be spent on booze or fags. Instead, Joe brought food home. Saturday night was eagerly awaited by all the family when Joe scoured the market stalls for cheap food being sold off at the end of the week. Several of the stallholders for whom he worked often gave him the leftovers that they had no chance of selling. Sometimes, if he'd had a good week, Joe brought home fish and chips, and the family ate like kings. Even their father, Sid, waited for Joe to arrive home on a Saturday night before going to the pub.
"Leave it, Mum, please."
Daniel was still pleading with his mother.
"I won't leave it, Dan. That little firebrand ought to be taught a lesson, and if—" "What's going on here?"
Mattie froze as she heard her father's voice and the sound of bicycle wheels coming across the yard towards the shed next to the privy. She heard the rattle as he flung it against the wall and emerged again into the yard.
"Oh, aye, Sid. Another of your little acquisitions, is it?" Bella said sarcastically. "What poor sod's lost his bike this afternoon, then?"
"Mind your business, you nosy old bat.
And stand aside, will you? I want me tea."
Bella sniffed.
"I doubt there'll be much on t' table, Sid."
"What do you want anyway?"
Sid asked.
"Your brat of a daughter, that's what. Just look at what she's done to my..."